Got one in the house.
Well, he's got a Conway Stewart. We're live on air to the world and telling them about Brian Fearon's Conway Stewart writings at Des Carson.
And it was a great writer.
Yeah, we share a commonality here. Certainly not in the golf that the two boys exemplify in their pastime these days, but we grew up together. We were in scouts together. We were in school together.
Yep.
And you lads are Brian Fearon, both and Des Carson from the Mayo Bridge Golf Club.
That's it.
And you're famed for the nature of the terrain out there, are you not?
It's beautiful.
Well,
It's lovely, but it's a
Brian
hard one to. It's a hard one to play, I'm told.
Brian had the honour of naming a few of the holes out at it.
Yes.
And,
How did that happen? What did you do?
Well, I learned along with Shane Fagan, who's the son of Joe.
Yes.
Joe Fagan should be remembered, really. This was a man with a dream. Started off with 3 holes just for practice purposes. Built it up from 6 to 9 holes.
after they cut the hay, they played in the
They
stubble.
used to play in the stubble. They then, this gentleman moved on and built there was a 12-hole course for a while. Then it moved into an 18-hole course. We operated out of an old wooden hut down at the bottom.
Changed in the boot of the car.
And changed in the boot of the car, is correct. He then is a family golf course, very unusual.
Yes.
Family run, family supported.
Family owned.
Family owned. They then built the clubhouse. We got GUI status.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah,
we got that.
that's GUI is Golfing Union of Ireland.
Yeah, we got that about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years.
You get a proper handicap then, and you abide by their rules and
That's
different
right.
things. So,
But listen, if you ever get a chance, try the restaurant.
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, it's good.
Please
yes.
go out, Ron. It's not just that. It's the whole thing.
The ambience
wide
of the
open
place is
fire,
brilliant.
big comfortable chairs to sit in. Everybody talks, Ron.
We're talking about Mayo Bridge Golf Club here.
Yeah, everybody talks there.
Yeah.
You'd be more than welcome, and the food is excellent.
Yeah.
I love going there.
And very, very reasonably priced to do
Yeah.
a great
Yes,
steak. There's a steak night on a Thursday night where they do 2 steaks and a bottle of wine for less than 30 quid.
My God, but sure, I could never eat 2 steaks.
Well, you can take somebody with you.
Oh, that's an idea. I forgot about that.
It's not a good idea.
I remember the
Well,
days.
Brian, or he's affectionately known as Pancho, he
Pancho
takes 2
Ferrer.
himself. He can eat the 2 of them. He
Why
is.
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Well, no,
he is done.
I've cut back
No,
now.
I
cut
think
back
you're
on
very
the
wise.
chips.
You're very wise.
Smaller plate now. Smaller plate now.
Cut back on the chips.
But the club is there. Our commonality from growing up, we were in scouts together.
That's right. That
It was the 6th down CBSI.
That's
Wasn't
right. That was
right?
in the 50s. late
But one of the
50s.
things I distinctly remember about you, Ron, is you were a sportsman.
Maybe.
I remember you in the Abbey.
Ah, yeah, I did a bit of running.
You used to sprint along with Val Kane,
Yeah.
Pat Kane.
Yeah,
Malachi,
Pat Kane was the great sprinter.
Malachi McKevitt.
Malachi McKevitt, indeed.
Remember that? All that group.
Oh, I do.
I remember all that.
My strength was the 880 yards.
Right.
Now that
Half
you
mile.
mention it. Half mile.
The half mile.
And I remember going around to the final bend, the Sacred Heart Bend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you went round the Sacred Heart Bend. You left the long jump pit up to your right. as you
Correct,
went
up in
round
the
it.
corner.
Over in the corner.
Corner.
You went round the Sacred Heart Bend, came into the 100 yards straight. And past McCann's Bakery.
The back of the bakery.
Correct.
Where the big weedy flowers were always there.
Yes.
And then you came through the and I remember coming around the Sacred Heart Bend and the doc, who I'd never any time for. He and I didn't get on well.
Nor me.
And he knew of my feelings.
Right.
But I was coming around the bend and he shouted, and now it's coming round the bend and it's Shawnee McGuigan. Shawnee McGuigan. And I'm shouting at him, you bastard. Even when I'm winning the race, you can't say
get
it's
the
me.
name right.
It was Shawnee. And I remember Paddy Arthur Crinion.
Yes.
He was there at the very end of the
Crinion,
100-yard straight.
Yes.
And it was the year that Ronnie Delaney won in Melbourne.
The 4-minute mile, was it?
No. He was the 1500, or was the 15,000, or
1500.
1500 meters.
Yes.
And he was there, and I was coming through the tape, and I remember, a la Ronnie Delaney, putting the hands up and going through.
Yeah.
And Paddy Arthur, God rest him, said, "Oh, he thinks he's Paddy. He thinks he's
Ronnie Delaney."
Ronnie Delaney.
But that would have been Olympics, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was the Melbourne
Olympic
Olympics.
medal. Yeah.
Well, I was a year behind you guys, I think.
You
and,
would, you would have been. You
our-
were a younger scout.
Our hero was Pat Jennings that time.
Ah, yeah.
He was jumping when he was only, 13, clearing 4'6" or some powerful
Yeah.
jumper.
Great
There was great rivalry between him and Jim Parks.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
You
Jim.
remember Jim
Yes.
from up
But
on
there was
high
also
school.
there was the fellow. His brother was a priest in the Dominican. What was his name? He was a great hop, step, and jump man. You would know him.
Triple.
Triple jump
Triple
man.
jump, who
and
was
his
he?
name. Oh goodness gracious! We grow old, boys. We can't remember so well. You'd know him as well as I know him. But his brother now runs the quizzes in the Canal Court.
O'Rourke, was it?
O'Rourke.
Yeah, yeah.
And he died then, young O'Rourke. He was a
That's
great
right.
fella.
There was one of
He was
them.
a great
Yeah,
jumper.
yeah, O'Rourke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I could never figure it out how we did it. It was the pole vault.
Right.
Did you ever do the pole vault?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Just over the Clanray River
Just
when we're
to tell
right.
you.
Swim.
No, that's
Trying to
the
get
first time
across.
I ever had a feeling of fear.
Yeah, because
Where you turn around and you put a pole into a hole.
In the ground.
And then you want to bend this pole.
not a good
But
idea.
in the early days, they were like aluminium. There was no
Yeah.
bend.
No, but
Yeah.
And you had to suspend yourself, hoping that a flick would flick you over. And at the end of this flick, I would extend
But
myself
you were
to go
only
over a bar.
you were only about
Put
8
away.
stone that
but
time.
don't forget, we did in high jump pits and all that.
Yeah.
You were jumping into sand.
That's right.
You were.
Right?
You were.
Yeah.
It was the Western roll then.
It was
before
never
the
a Fosbury flop.
No,
never.
no,
no,
never.
it was
like
we
a
didn't
scissor.
know about the Fosbury.
It was a scissor thing, wasn't it?
It
You'd done
was.
and done
You
the
would do
scissor,
scissors.
something done the
Yeah.
Western roll.
Western
yeah.
roll, yeah.
That was the good old days, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a good growing up, boys. We hadn't
We hadn't
I had
many
a
computers
wonderful
or
childhood.
phones or things like
No,
that.
we
No, I
didn't
had a great
enjoyed it.
childhood.
We
All
enjoyed
sport
it,
was
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Everything was outside the doors, you know what I mean?
And when I hear people talk, very often on this program, I hear people talk about the young people today, they've got nothing. What I had in the meadow was the rocks. I went up where St. Bridget's Chapel is now.
Yes,
And we played cowboys and Indians.
that's correct.
And then with all my friends round about, we went over into the yard of Edward Street Station.
Yes.
And we stole grease from the axle boxes of the trains.
Yeah.
And we took that grease and used it to put into the tubing cover.
Yeah.
Not many people will know what
What a tubing cover
is.
was.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the football boots and all of that.
But I also remember at Christmas you getting pearl handle guns. They came from America.
Wow, my God. Pearl handle guns.
I lived in 61 Derrybag Drive.
We
You
were
lived
48.
across the way, yeah?
48.
But
There
you
you go.
arrived there with pearl handle guns.
My God.
I had a rifle that shot, it shot corks.
Yeah, but when we went to war
So
against...
and there was a wee string on it, so I cut the
Oh, yeah.
string off.
Oh, you're very
I
wise.
now had a deadly weapon.
You had. But whenever we took on the Armagh Road or Killeavy Road, or whenever we took on Ive Crescent or Slieve Gullion Road or Oria Road,
Yes.
you were actually a top marksman there. You could have done anything there.
Well, this is very true.
Well, that's this is how we got the
very
name Pancho.
Ah,
You
yeah.
see, this is where this came into it.
Yeah.
No, Pancho came through due to
The steeples that you used to
no.
put into the elastic bands
Oh, yes, of
around your
course.
fingers.
no.
Sweet
There's a
God.
film called The Secret Treasure of Pancho Villa.
That's right.
Which was on in the Savoy.
And you were
right?
shooting
So I
steeples
was
there.
sitting down there and I was looking at all the happenings on the screen. I started to shoot Indians with a staple, and the zips were going.
You saw zip,
and the zips were going through the screen. Whereupon Torchy came down and
put us out.
ejected one. And from then on, they called me Pancho.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Pancho.
true.
For the name.
Affectionately.
Do you
Pancho.
remember, and were you ever involved in the talent shows,
Of course I was.
competitions
Yeah.
in the Frontier on Saturday mornings?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 4 pence in or something. wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, we entered. I put a band into it. But
Yeah.
on the Saturday morning, the penny dropped for
Yeah.
me. There's not one of us could play anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was the awfulness of how do we get out
We
of
had a
it?
skiffle group.
Yeah, it was
from
in it.
Skiffle
uh,
groups.
Then it
Remember
was
the old
Bob McGauley.
the old
with me, was it?
tea chest,
Tea chests.
and the pole.
And the pole and the bit of...
And I even tell you,
For
what's
the-
in it.
to make a bass
there was
out of
Jim
it.
Keenan.
Yeah.
There was Bob McGauley.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
Vinnie Gorman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rory O'Connor.
With
Rory,
a lot,
God
with,
rest
with,
him.
with a lot of them.
Rory's wife died recently.
Bernie, yeah.
Up,
Bernie's dead,
up,
yeah.
up there with Rory up in the hill. God love them.
Yeah, she's
the
up
two
in-
of them are gone.
Yeah.
Two of them are gone. It was I suppose I need to ask you this before we remind people about the big event out at Mayo Bridge. But did either of you ever grow up?
No.
No, not
I
really.
refused to
suppose.
grow up.
No, I never grew up.
No,
I never
I-
got old either.
No,
No.
because
We're all taking the tablets, aren't we?
my tablet was the the joy of being around boats.
Yeah, you like
The
the boats.
canoe on the canal, or the rowing boat, and then when
Really water for you, Ron, because
Yeah.
you also went under it.
I did.
Am I right?
As a diver.
No,
and with
I tell you,
I
the
wouldn't be
diver,
fit to dive
No,
now.
but you did.
Oh, I did,
You
sure.
did,
You've done that for a long time.
I did. I did.
And you had some experiences there too of bodies in the canal, recovery,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You
Well,
were doing some work there.
Pat, my uncle, formed the Newry Sub-Aqua Club, but it was first of all the St. Anthony's Sub-Aqua Club. That's what the
Right.
first club in Newry was called. And Pat Hand was my uncle started it. And Pat and I, in those days, there was not... The way they recovered unfortunate human beings from the canal was with a grappling hook
Yeah.
and a rope. And they would have thrown it in
And pull.
and pulled. And so anyway, we were on the scene, and they would then call us. And
Yes.
we had the, and it's I'm choosing my words carefully. We had the joy
Yes, you
of
have.
going into the blackness, and the visibility would have been a meter, half a meter,
Yeah.
and then you would come across the person,
Yes, of course.
and you'd take the person up. Two of us would normally do it, fin up to the surface and bring the person back, and we did that. And then the weekend the Pope came to Ireland, much later. I was to cover the event in the Phoenix Park in Dublin, and I was sitting in the Montrose Hotel in Donnybrook, and Marie phoned me. She says, Rowan, and those days there's no mobiles. You had to go out to reception to take the call, and I was called to reception. Went to reception, and she says, Rowan, poor Pat is dead. My uncle, poor Pat is dead. Pat had been in Galway blasting a trench across the bed of the Corrib,
Right.
and he had wanted me to be there with him. And I couldn't go because of my responsibilities on the Saturday in the Phoenix Park in Dublin. But I know to this day, boys, if I had been with him, he would have lived. For a very simple reason, not any bravery on my part, but I hadn't the money to get a dry suit.
Right.
Now, a dry suit is not buoyant. It
Yes.
achieves buoyancy by putting the collar on, the rubber around the collar,
Seals.
and it's sealed and sealed. But my suit was a neoprene, 5mm neoprene suit, 3mm neoprene suit, which was buoyant. So Pat, when he was putting a rope across the Corrib, which was in Spate, on the day before the Pope came, he told the lads, as was his nature, go on home, boys, I'll put the rope down for you, don't worry. And he pulled himself out with his mate, who was in a same sort of suit as me, actually, but sinking the rope, putting weights on the rope.
Yes.
But the river was so angry, and the angle was so wrong, he toppled in, was left hanging on the rope. So the suit filled it. He didn't have the collar on because he wasn't diving.
Yes.
It filled up with water, Brian.
And took him
Des.
down.
And he held on until at the last he couldn't hold on anymore, and he was drifted towards the bank, and he managed to stand up on the west bank of the Corrib, and he stood up, and then he collapsed. He was dead.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, when I went up to recover his bits and pieces, his car was there, and there sitting in the back seat, in the back window of the car, was the brass collar.
That he should have had.
Now, if I had been with him, I would have had the wisdom to put my arms around him, hold him and lie back, and let the current take us to kingdom come.
Yes.
Anywhere would have been safe. But it's one of those things you have to get on
It's
with.
a life thing.
It's a life
It's
thing.
a life thing.
Did we
But-
do something a couple of years ago? Did we raise funds for the diving club or something? Remember,
You may well have
Gabby
done.
Kern was out at something. Did we do?
Yeah, you may have done. Gabby wasn't part of he wasn't diving.
Someone lost there a few years back,
Yeah.
and I think there was something done to raise
was
funds.
something done
yeah.
to raise funds.
I
Well, you
think-
guys are no strangers to raising funds out at Mayo Bridge, and you have a golf classic that's coming up.
Well, the captain every year gets a chance to do something for charity.
Yeah.
Me, the captain this year, I've decided to do mine for Down syndrome children and for Big O's Special Olympics.
Wonderful.
Because they do crossover.
Wonderful.
We're having it on the 6th and 7th of June.
Yeah.
We're looking as many teams to enter as possible. It's £100 for a team, and for that you'll get your round of golf and an Ulster fry or a bit of stew. Or
Bit of stew,
we'll
you get
feed
fed, and that'll be
And
good.
there will be some nice prizes.
Yeah.
And we hope that we get the weather and have it a good day
Of
or
course.
whatever.
But I mean, people can be a wee bit lazy. It's not that they don't want to do it, but you need to say now, wherever you are in the country of Ireland, whatever golf club you're in, I am making a point of being there, and I'm going to take my mates with me, and we'll all be there to do good things for the Down syndrome cause,
Yes.
the Special
Brilliant.
Olympics cause.
Brilliant.
Because it's my experience. I so love youngsters, the children with Down syndrome. There's such a sensitivity about them.
I got this, first of all, years and years ago when with the bands. We'd go over to Tower Hill in Armagh.
Yeah.
And the late Mary Kelly
Yeah.
used to get us to go over there. And the Down syndrome kids there, and they just loved the music, and they were so affectionate.
Oh, aye.
And this is where I got to them. And then years ago, there was a second cousin of mine who was Down's, and that's where I got the thing from.
Yeah.
The cancer charities are great. All the multiple sclerosis, they're all brilliant. But there was nothing been done, so we decided. I talked it over with Pancho, and we thought, well, let's go for this one.
I have to say, if Poncho and Des are involved, there's only one way this is going to go, and it's up.
Well, this is when
is gonna be
when
good.
we
There's a
talk to
song
you.
called Pancho and Lefty.
Yeah.
There is.
And we know you've got a great viewership. Is that a word?
Well, we have a good audience, and people. I will continue to.
You have a
to
fan
promote
actually in Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, a guy called Donnie Payton, and he's sitting
Donnie.
in his work with his mates now, watching
How are
all
you
about
this morning?
Newry and Mourne.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's so good to know that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
out there. What is the date of the big event?
The 6th and 7th of June.
The 6th. We have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, we have time, not
Yeah,
plenty.
yeah.
We have time. But I mean, if you can focus your club, wherever your club is, Warren Point, Newry, where else is there?
There's some of the societies out there. There's guys not affiliated to clubs
Yeah.
at all. They just go together and they play at different
So
clubs.
let's get you
Yeah.
involved.
We
Let's
want a
do
few
it.
ladies teams as well, if
Yeah.
we can get them.
I love
we
the
don't want them.
ladies.
We don't want them
They're
to
very
be,
important.
We don't want them to be left out.
No,
of it.
I
to get
would
a
never
few.
leave a lady out
Well,
of
there you
anything.
go. That's it.
They're much nicer
And Charles
than
First
men.
Jaguar is kindly giving me a bit of sponsorship for
Wow.
this. They're going to put a couple of their new cars at it and come out and have a test drive and have a look around you and say so.
Fantastic. You know, it's all,
Hopefully this will go.
well, why wouldn't it? You
Yep.
know, how long are you golfing now? It was a long way from golfing that any of us were raised,
It
by
was.
the way.
This started with Pancho and I one night. We're sitting in the bar having a quiet drink and.
You're great mates, by the
well, yeah,
sound of you.
we are. Well, we're friends over
a lovely
60,
thing.
over 60 years.
This is
And the
true.
bar seemed to be getting further and further away, you know, so we decided to do a bit of exercise.
Yeah.
So golf was mentioned,
Yeah,
and we went down to Fagan's and we played a few rounds, and we
Yes.
joined. We're the first members. We're in the first 10 anyway, aren't we?
We're in the first 10.
We're in the
Yeah.
first 10,
Yeah.
so we're members since then.
But you always have to keep your head down.
This is very true, actually, yes.
Well, or sideways. Or
My problem was that I wanted to see where the ball was going to go.
Oh, you have it, yeah.
Where's
Yeah,
it
it's
going?
the
You know,
kind of-
yeah. And then there's the business of delivering the short game, the putt, and to
course.
judge the lie of the green
That's right.
and whatever.
And
you know.
point of aim and all
Oh
of that.
my
You know,
Yes.
a day like today, we were out yesterday 3 or 4 hours and
yeah.
in the fresh air.
But the crack is mighty
The
between
crack's-
mates.
The
who
crack
go
is
out
mighty, and
together.
the body language is stunning.
Aye.
You see
Stunning,
that-
I love your use of words.
You see the gentleman who's actually won that particular hole, and I love it's the vibrancy of his walk as he walks away, knowing that
That he has won.
that I have won that hole. And then you look at someone, the body language, total dejection because he's dropped the shot. But I love people. That's-
Yeah.
Austin
Well,
got
you
great
always-
plays
yeah.
with us. Austin, who's a taxi man.
Austin
And he is a brilliant golfer, but he doesn't lose very well. Sure he doesn't.
But the only thing about
He
golf
doesn't lose
is
very well.
you can be a
Well, yes, he
brilliant
He doesn't lose
golfer.
very often, but he
As,
doesn't lose very
very
much.
often.
as Rory showed, you can be the world's greatest golfer on the Monday
Yeah.
and total rubbish on the Friday.
That's golf.
That is golf.
Well, people like us are as good as 98% of the golfers in the world.
Well, this is very
You
true.
are. This
Yeah,
is true.
This is true. And you know, because of the handicap system, anyone can play anyone.
Did I tell you about the time I played with Rory?
No.
Oh, it's a great story. Rory he was the chairman of a children's charity in Belfast, and it was children with autism kind of
Yes.
thing. I don't quite know what the condition was, But I was doing a nationwide documentary on it, and we met him at his club, Bangor Club, up that part
Hollywood
of the world.
is.
Yeah.
I think he's in Hollywood.
So we went there to meet him, and he was magnificent with the children. I just was so impressed at his contact with the youngsters that he was looking after and being with. This is about 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
But then we did a little bit of putting and a little bit of driving.
Yes.
And I watched him
How
drive.
did you do?
Oh, well, did
Did you outdrive him or anything? No.
No, I'll tell you in a minute about that. But I looked at him and I saw him drive. Now, the nearest I can come to describe it to you is if you've seen a snake charmer and the snake is sitting up like this and the snake can turn on itself.
Well,
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
when he drove, the thing just, wow.
Always
The
like an
whole
elastic
body,
band,
The
didn't
whole spine turned, everything. And he delivered. Now, there was another occasion with my brush with golf when something has happened. Oh, thank you. Now, this is very good. That was my golf was doing that.
Your golf
Andrew.
swing knocked
But
your meg off.
The other thing happened was there was a European Championship at Beaver Park in Belfast
Right.
for blind golfers.
Right.
Blind golfers. And the best golf swing that ever I took in my life, they put, which gives you actually a good clue to technique in golf. They put a blindfold on me and let me hit a ball. I was doing a short documentary on it, and I hit the ball perfectly. And I knew it was perfect because of the bing,
The way you heard it, yeah.
bang on.
Sound, yeah.
And I delivered it further and more accurately than I'd ever delivered before. So the golf thing is about between the ears, isn't it?
Oh, very
What
much.
we think
Very
we're going
much
to
so,
do.
No, very much.
Where we're
Very
getting
much
it right and where we're getting it wrong. Listen, we're coming with another 3 minutes to go, so I want to remind the people of
Okay.
the great event. Des, tell the people again of the
The
captains.
6th and 7th of June, it's the Captain's Charity Weekend, and we're doing it for Down syndrome kids and Big O Special Olympics. And if there's anybody out there who would like to give us a prize or a donation or come along on the day, anything at all you can do to help us, we'll be eternally grateful.
And where do people sign up for it?
Just ring the Mayo Bridge Golf Club,
Ring Mayo Bridge Golf Club.
and they'll sort you out with tea times.
And let's do it.
Or if you
for
know
goodness
me,
sake.
just talk
Yeah.
to me about it. We'll
If I,
sort it out.
if I could play golf, I'd be there myself.
But maybe you'll come out anyway. Oh no, you're going to be away in Spain.
I'll be away in
You'll be
Spain.
away in Spain.
All being well, that's
Yeah.
what I'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to Donnie Payton out there
Donnie
in,
Payton,
Kentucky,
well,
in Kentucky.
Well, I'll be doing stuff from Spain, Donnie, and we'll introduce Kentucky to Andalusia.
That's the
and we'll
good.
do so with
Yeah,
aplomb.
that's the stuff.
But it's so lovely talking to you guys because we grew up together.
We did,
Well, this
yeah.
is
And nostalgia's okay.
There's
Of
a lot
course
of
it
us.
is. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us missing out of those.
Yeah, there's not many of us
They're
left.
dropping
There's a
out.
few, yeah.
They're dropping
There's
out.
not
And a
many
very
left.
good
You
friend,
missed
I was telling you, his niece was in with me earlier. Dan O'Hare
Yes.
of the Meadow.
Yeah.
George O'Hare of the Knights of Malta.
That's
and
right.
Scouting was in.
Yes.
He's dead and gone now. As Dan. Dan was with us camping.
Yep.
And then
Benson's Glen.
Benson's Glen, and then
Yeah.
we camp. Do you guys camp at where's that place outside Castle Bellingham? Did you camp at Bellingham?
Yes,
Never
they
got.
did.
I never
I
got as
was
far
at
as
Bellingham.
Bellingham. No.
Yes, they did,
Benson's
yeah.
Glen was as far as
Yeah.
I got.
Oh, she was great times.
Yeah.
And thanks be to God, boys, we never grew up. That's the important thing.
Totally.
And we admit
Totally.
it. We have
Yeah.
not grown up. We refuse to grow up. And we're going to keep doing things for Down syndrome and golf and make sure that we turn our pastime to good use. And you can do that this coming June at Mayo Bridge Golf Club. And we very much want you today to lift the phone, make the contact, so that folk with Down syndrome and people going off to the Special Olympics will benefit as a consequence. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you
Pleasure.
very much, Ron.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your time.
We'll do some of this again. We have
Okay.
so much to talk about. It's
Yeah.
good. So much to talk about. So little time to do it. We'll do
This
it.
is very true.
Indeed, indeed. Right. Farewell to you across the planet. We wish you well. I always urge people to be happy as they go about the business of their day. Be happy in your